Hello, welcome, welcome. This is the Flavor That Heals Masterclass. I'm so glad you're joining us. Let me know in the comments where you're joining from. Chef Caitlin May here. If this is your first time joining me in a while, welcome. It's so good to see you again. I see some of your faces. Thanks for being on camera. I love seeing you. And I'm so excited to share everything today. We've got a big class. Hello, John. Joe, Susan, Kathy, hi Vince, hi Dominique, hi Angela, and Alicia, Claudette, Naomi, Debbie, welcome everyone. So we are gonna get straight into it. I know some people will be coming in throughout the class, but it's a long one. So really good though, really juicy. So it's gonna be amazing, but I don't wanna delay. You showed up on time, so thank you so much for being here. And if you have any questions throughout, please let me know in the chat, because I love, first of all, engagement, period. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to answer questions. So this training is a deep one, and it's pretty novel. So there's a lot that you could have questions about, and I appreciate that, because then we can address any confusion and go deeper. Thanks, Angela. I am very, very happy. You'll see so much of why and how I created this happiness for myself, because it was very intentional, and you can do it too. You can do it too. So I'm going to show you my slides. Get my all set up. I can't do this ahead of time. I wish I could set this up ahead of time, but it's just a second. So let me know if you can see my slides. Okay. And you might be familiar with me as a cooking instructor. I taught at True North Health Center for decades, and I love teaching in person, the in-person classes, but we don't have that opportunity today to be in person. So the chat is where it's going to be, like, all of the action as far as our engagement. And the more you're there, the more you're answering and giving me feedback as we go, the more I feel lit up by sharing, because I know you're listening. I know it's having an impact. Okay, so my promise to you today is, well, let me share again. This is the Flavor That Heals Masterclass. And it's really about discovering the 3 keys to transform your cravings. But beyond that, creating extraordinary nourishment so that you can become your most vibrant self. So we're going to cover many things today, but my promise is that by the end of this webinar, you'll know exactly how to nourish yourself in a way that raises your energy, healing, and vibrancy without bland, boring, or feeling restricted. We're going to revolutionize how you think about flavor. So if you're ready, actually, I want to just share that Flavor That Heals is so meaningful to me that I'm rebranding my business. So it's going to be a transition. Like, the domain is still theculinarygym.com. That's still the logo on the website and everything. But if you saw my email recently, welcome to Flavor That Heals. This is the Culinary Gym 2.0. I'll still use that term, the Culinary Gym, within my world. And maybe we'll have some future physical locations, who knows? But as an overall brand, it's going to be Flavor That Heals, because it's more encompassing, as I'll show you today. And it's more reflective of what gets me most excited and what's had the biggest change on my life, which is why I'm focused on it for you. So if you're ready, then put your phone away, like, turn it off, close any extra tabs that you have open, and really open your body. Stretch your arms if you can, and let's take 3 deep breaths together to ground us and bring us to the present moment and really center us here. So if you want to take a deep breath in, make it a belly breath. So you're breathing into your belly, and exhale. And another breath in. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Okay. So this is going to be an incredible journey from flavor to light. That may sound a little abstract, a little strange, but I promise you'll see by the end of the presentation what I mean. And it's not like we're leaving flavor behind, so don't get worried. You probably showed up for more flavor. We're not leaving that deliciousness. We're actually creating more deliciousness. So to start with, I would love for you to think about what's your why? Like, why, not just your why for why you're doing this lifestyle, but why do you show up today? What's your reason for being here? Let me know in the chat what you'd like to get out of our conversation today. Think about what's your biggest challenge right now, specifically around your food, or maybe it's a larger challenge in your life, but it could be anything from you've just been struggling with the pleasure trap, like you're still kind of stuck on certain foods that you'd rather not be having, mostly plant-based, mostly whole foods, but you still got that one vice that you can't let go of. Or maybe you're doing all the food right, but it's just like overwhelming and it's not really worth it. It doesn't feel worth it because your life is not as joyful as you thought it'd be. You're doing all the food and putting all the time in to change things, to get your health in order, but the results aren't as extraordinary as you thought they'd be. Or maybe you're actually loving the food, but you still have those symptoms, and that's what's frustrating you. And you just keep running it over in your head and trying to figure out how you can do it better, what you can do differently to have more results, more healing, more growth. So Gigi says, looking for more flavorful plant-based food. Awesome. Clara says, sugar cravings. We're going to talk about cravings for sure. And all of this is going to address the flavor in our life and the deliciousness. I want to mention, though, I've got some water and tea here. Should really start with my tea as it's hot. But I am getting over, I had a cold that was deeply energetically healing and really strengthened my voice and my spirit, but I lost my voice completely, which is why I know it was so healing to my voice. But I lost the voice completely and it's just coming back fully. It's been gradual, but I still here and there might like crack my voice or have a little bit of cough. So that's why. And if I have a little bit of tea throughout, it's just for a little bit of that soothing on my throat. Okay. Motivation. Awesome, Dominique. Jody, the sugar cravings. Angela says, things keep happening and I fall back on the quick comfort, both for time and stress relief. Yeah. So the energetics that we're going to talk about today are really powerful in bringing us through those challenging times, because I've been there absolutely, as I'm going to show you. Okay, so think about the pain. Recognizing the pain is really important, but you also want to think about where you want to go, the destination. How do you want to feel in your body, right? To feel joyful, uplifted, peace, love, self-love. How do you want to feel? Because that is in your hands. Just like your health is in your hands, how you feel day to day is in your hands, and the flavor that you're consuming is directly impacting that, as we'll talk about. So by the end of this masterclass, it should be clear how your healthiest, happiest, most vibrant self depends on flavor that heals. If you're ready to glow, to grow and to glow, to evolve and to elevate for a greater expression of you, then you're in the right place. And why are you listening to me? Well, let me just give you a little bit of like the technical pieces. I have a master's in nutrition and a bachelor's in human biology. So I know the body really well. And from a health standpoint, vitality standpoint, I've actually learned more about what keeps us healthy and strong and vibrant after grad school, because it's more, the truth of it is that much more cutting edge than what you often learn in those, you know, just kind of outdated curriculums. But for 15 years, I've been thriving on a whole food plant-based diet, a little bit of a roller coaster ride here and there, I'll tell you about, but really overall, I've been thriving for a long time on a plant-based diet. And for 10 years, I taught whole food plant-based cooking at True North Health Center and Dr. McDougall's Medical Center. And then I founded the Culinary Gym, or in the midst of that, I founded the Culinary Gym to help people worldwide. And I even opened up a brick and mortar store. I'm going to show you some pictures so that I could teach people locally. I am so committed to this because I've healed myself from so many things over the years. And just so you know, if you get more symptoms coming, it's not that you're doing it wrong, it's that you're growing. Usually it's a sign of your growth. If you heal something and then something else comes, it's because there's something new exposed for you to work on and learn from and become more whole because of that journey, that challenge. And in pursuit of my healing, I got certified in chronic healing, which is kind of like healing the energy within us. Also in breath work and cold exposure to help reset the nervous system. So I really know what I'm talking about with this conversation. And in fact, it's very, very me and very novel. You won't hear most of what I'm saying today anywhere else, although it's all based on science. And I'm ultimately committed to raising your vitality, consciousness, and actualizing our human potential. And I'm always learning, applying, and teaching for our highest good. So it's never ending. We started as a human species way long ago, and we've grown so much. We've evolved so much. How? It's been our connection to ourselves, our connection to our creator, to source, our connection to the environment, because we need to read the environment in order to adapt, right? We need to sense things and discover within that sensation what's best for us, and then we adapt. That's how it works for all of human history until this most recent century. Well, the recent too. Our ability to sense and taste is what kept us healthy and vibrant, right? Even the longest standing medical systems, Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine that are still used today, based their diagnoses and their prescription on the essences of food, the flavor and the different essence, the characteristics of food. It's incredible. In fact, more and more people are going to these alternative, you could say alternative, but they're really the traditional wisdom from our ancestors. They're moving, more and more doctors and professionals are moving to these domains because of how effective they are. We need more solutions like this because we've rapidly changed course in this last century. Our food system has completely, irrefutably discombobulated us so that our senses no longer guide us to health, but they guide us to disease. It's a terrible, terrible path we're on. Modern flavor, modern flavor, I'm all over. Modern flavor is designed to trap you. It's synthetic, refined, hyper concentrated, and unbelievably toxic. The three things here, they are all toxic to our body. If they look the same, white sugar, right? It kind of looks like the white heroin or cocaine, but refined sugar, refined salt, and refined glutamate. So we're going to talk about it, but it basically comes down to profit and power. This is a little chart of some of the major companies, beverage companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, McDonald's, and how they've grown just from 1963 to 2018. And this spike in 2018, do you think it started declining with 2020 and everything that's happened since then? Or is it only rising? I guarantee it's just rising, because that's what it's about. The power and profits. They know what they're doing. But the thing is, it's the people who are buying and happily consuming. Even the sandwiches like this, fast food sandwiches where the ingredient list is overwhelming. In our heads, you might think it's chicken on a piece of bread. But in actuality, that's not just chicken. There's multiple ingredients within that, what you think is a whole chicken. It's not a whole chicken. And then the coating and the bun and even the pickles on it have dozens of ingredients. And those ingredients, as flavorful as they might be, because that's what they're usually there for, is to increase the flavor from in some way, it is destroying the body within because it's not natural. But still, we're eating these sandwiches. We're eating the processed food, even though I know you're here and you're plant-based or you're very health conscious about your choices, but most likely you're still making choices that are more processed in some way, most people. And it's not all the time, but there's a reason you're doing it. And that's the problem, is that we're torn between our desire for health and our desire for pleasure. And it's a spectrum too. You may not ever have fast food, but you may be having some other things that are a little bit more processed than is ideal for you, especially if you want more than maintenance. If you want to grow and heal deeper, there's a difference, right? So this desire for health and desire for pleasure is just getting worse, or the disconnect between the two. You've seen the charts. I'm certain of it, that you've seen the charts of how our health has declined over the 20th century. Well, it's only gotten worse since the end of the 20th century, and it continues to rise. The prediction for 2030 is no better than it is now, right? Millions of Americans are dying of chronic disease that starts with what we're talking about today, the flavor that is harmful to us, of course, not the flavor that heals. So you're going to discover the difference. But how do we get out of the situation? Is it possible that the evolution stops, that we actually go extinct instead of healing and learning how to beat all of this disease? That's a very real, logical outcome, is that our extinction is on the horizon unless we do a reset. How do we reset? We need a pivotal reset so that we can align the health and deliciousness. We need to go back to our ancestors' sensual approach to staying healthy. Embrace the natural ways of enjoying life. We can integrate all the wisdom gains, but we need to go back and allow our bodies to live naturally as they were designed for. The thing is, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it, as Albert Einstein says. We have to expand our consciousness. We have to learn and do something different than what we've been doing. And that's where I propose Flavor That Heals. I have 3 keys to Flavor That Heals that will spark a flavor revolution, one bite at a time, one person at a time. And it starts here with you. You get to be that change, right? Who's excited for this? If you want to know the 3 keys to Flavor That Heals, write flavor in the comments. If you want the flavor, you want to be a part of the revolution, because it always starts with one person. It starts with you, right? There's no one at the top. There's no one outside of you that can make the changes for you. You've got to do it. Fortunately, the most delicious thing in our world, flavor, is a portal. It can take us places. It could take us to disease, or it could take us to vitality. It's a true superpower, but it's not talked about. It's underestimated how powerful this flavor is. You think it's like just giving you some feel-good feeling, right? A little bit of dopamine, making you enjoy the meals that are there to fuel you, but it's so much more. It builds and shapes our relationship to food, of course, but it instantly stimulates the nervous system or triggers the nervous system in some way. It induces clear physiological changes on the body. It influences our emotions and our feelings. It alters our thoughts and perception, generates long-term memory, instills behavior patterns, creates motivation and drive, fosters culture, connection, and community, energizes and nourishes living systems if done right. Excuse me. Done wrong, though, it drains and depletes living systems. It changes our electric potential. And it supports or slows our evolution and self-actualization. We evolve to seek out flavor, yet depending on the quality and the frequency, it can either nourish or drain us, heal or harm us, right? So maybe before I start, who wants to hear my story? I'm going to now take you on a journey of how I came about these keys. I'm going to tell you the keys along the way and the secrets of how to apply them. But it starts way back when I was a little girl. I grew up in Michigan, living on a standard American diet, eating processed food. And by the time I was 17, I was addicted to sugar. Well, I was addicted to sugar much further back, but it really had escalated and I was consuming large amounts of ice cream specifically. By the time I was 18, I was very aware of it and calling myself an ice cream addict. It was not a little thing. I was having so much, I knew I needed a program to get out of it. I was hopeless. I felt dull, mediocre, not pretty, lonely, unseen, and really depressed. But I didn't know. And I would explain it to my mom in tears. I would say that I was suffering and that there was a big problem. But she didn't know what to do about it. She didn't understand. She wasn't feeling that addiction, right? No one knows those pains of true food addiction if they haven't experienced it themselves. But, didn't want to go. I had a sense within me that there was something more, that I had this light inside me that could be released. I didn't know how, but I knew that it was there. And it was like this woman here, very abstract, because I didn't have anyone around me that was healthy, like in a truly healthy state, or that was doing healthful living practices to nurture the body, like yoga or meditation. I didn't really have any of that around me. And so I just was banking on this feeling within me. And that's what drew me forward. It's what gave me hope. I dreamed of glowing, feeling vibrant, beautiful, connected, and full of joy. But I was still painfully addicted and totally alone in my suffering. From 17 to 22, I was basically this woman eating ice cream, 90% of my calories from ice cream, day in and day out. But fortunately, my dad did teach me a bit about nutrition as he was doing the Atkins diet in high school. So senior year in high school, I started Slim Fast, the diet of Slim Fast. And it worked so well for me that I decided in my public speaking class that this was what I was going to present on at the end of the year. So my first ever public presentation was on the benefits of Slim Fast, because I used it all year long to lose the weight. You know, I had 15 extra pounds probably, and I was committed to being a faster runner and finding some sense of feeling pretty. And so it was very pleasurable because it was basically a liquid, just a shake, right? But it just promoted my addiction to ice cream even more, right? So that wasn't healthy or good. But I was starting to think about nutrition. And I recognized with Jamie Oliver and people like that, I was learning about the childhood obesity epidemic. And that's when I started with in the kitchen at a local co-op. I was in the back preparing whole foods, and I had this smell, this aroma came up as I cut into an organic red bell pepper. It was so strong that I put down the knife and I took a bite. And that's when a light bulb went off in my head. I recognized vegetables, healthy food could be delicious. I'm telling you, it was night and day from before going in that day to when I left. And I went home and switched my application from medical school to becoming a nutritionist. Like that, I was committed because I knew that if I could make healthy food taste good and I could teach other people how to do it, then they could have a chance at reclaiming their health. And not just their health, but the light within them. They could feel that vibrant energy that I was after. I hadn't figured out how to get there yet, but I knew that I could help other people get there if I was on this path and doing it for myself. And this was the start. This was as I learned, this was the core of what I was going to use to help people heal. I became a whole food plant-based nutritionist and chef, moved to California and started working at these health centers so that I could help people really tap into that vibrant energy within, right? But I faced this underlying belief, this deep conscious belief. Although I knew that I tasted real food that was delicious, there was still a subconscious belief, a limiting belief that healthier meant less flavor. So although I was making healthy taste good, there was always a sense that if it was more delicious, if it was something that I really didn't want to be having, right, then it was not healthy. So I had this belief, and that is a limiting belief. Healthier means less flavor. But I pursued, and so I just figured out I got to do it more delicious. I got to help people make it really delicious. So I made tons and tons of recipes, 300, 400 different recipes through the whole plant foods, legumes, grains, nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables. And I really, impressed myself. I think many people enjoyed my recipes. And flavor that heals became my path. I didn't have that term at the time, but it was making the healthy food delicious. It was making the healing food flavorful. And that's what I chose to focus on. I even made delicious desserts using these whole food ingredients. I made ice cream and cheesecake that was really satisfying so that I could let go of that plant or let go of the processed dairy ice cream. And I did. I overcame that addiction to the ice cream, and not only to healthier plant-based options, but ultimately to zero ice cream. I don't need it at all, right? It's not just that I switched to a healthier version, it's that I let go of it because of the keys that I'm sharing with you. So what happens when I started doing this and I was really into it is that I committed further, right? I became devoted to this because of all the results I saw when I switched my food from the processed junk to the whole foods. And I can open the world's first ever culinary gym. This is like a mixture of a cooking school and a yoga studio. People could come in every week and learn with me. I did hands-on cooking classes. They could experience the ingredients, the equipment, the meals with me in person before having to do it at home. It was amazing, right? So they were just inspired and then they wanted to make those changes at home as well. How many people would love a culinary gym in their area? If you could go into a place like a yoga studio, let me know in the comments. Say gym in the comments if you'd like a culinary gym in your area, because that's what I wanted. That was my vision, is to have one of these culinary gyms in every major city around the country. But I needed some capital. So I actually closed the gym and went fully online so that I could build up more capital. Unfortunately, it's taken me some time to learn business and money. But I was really thriving at that time when I closed the gym, teaching with a purpose, in the country, connecting with people around the country as I hosted Thrive and Shine dinner parties. It was amazing. I was making my dreams come true. But the thing is, one of the dreams was this horseback riding. unfortunately, I didn't have the understanding of how important it was to fulfill that those dreams, to really nurture the soul and take care of the body and the mind, to do fun things, to find joy in life, because that was a one-time experience. Most of my days, I was just working, like honestly, from 7 a.m., 6 a.m. until 11, sometimes 2 in the morning, all day, because I loved what I was doing. I was committed to this lifestyle, and it was bringing me so much happiness, right? It was so fulfilling. But that's really how it was appearing on the outside, including to myself. I didn't realize that inside the stress was building so much so that I got burnt out. You see, there's an allostatic load that's happening for each of us. It's not just the food we're consuming, all of our life, even our relationships, the sleep that we're getting or not getting, the TV that you're watching or not watching, that sedentary lifestyle, all of it is impacting the allostatic load, which means the stress and the inflammation in your body. And when that happens for me, the more it drew me to the convenience food, right? I didn't really bring bread into my house, but I had a plant-based organic restaurant nearby that had a tempeh Reuben. And you can bet your bottom, when I was stressed out and wanted that convenience, I didn't want to cook my food either, right? We all face this. We're all human. I would go out and buy the Reuben. Well, I started to notice that I actually felt worse after eating that, even though it was organic, whole food, plant-based, right? And it ended up that I was getting too much work, stress, and stimulation in my body, and not enough soothing, self-care, play. I had a real nervous breakdown. I was in tears. Like, you can see this picture. I took this picture December 2018 as I was sitting in my car crying and not knowing how to stop, and not even really knowing why I was crying. The tears just kept coming for weeks on end. And I had to actually take a break, put all of my work on hold, and go to True North Health Center for a 2-week water fast. It was amazing. I felt rejuvenated, reset, but it wasn't enough. I had to make deep changes in my life, and I knew that. So I started really looking at what I recognized of how that tempeh Reuben, and of course I was also having matcha, matcha from Starbucks, which is, the worst. Really created a lot of shame in my body around that. But I was recognizing how these foods were bringing me into these deep depressive states. Even after True North, I still had bouts of that depression because I was learning. I had to relearn how to live to get out of it. And that's when I discovered the frequency of flavor. So before I get into it, are you with me here? Are you excited about some of this understanding already? That it's not just the food creating the stress in our body. And
you have to do something with your earbuds to get it to go into there?
Actually, sorry, mute everyone. The food itself can be an issue, right? So flavor made at home is one thing, but it's very different than industry produced flavor. There's a big difference. Plants from the ground versus food made in a plant, right? We want to eat the plants that grow, not what's made in a plant or a factory. But still, like sugar beets, right? They could be healthy. It's just sugar beet, which is a plant food. And then it's just processed, maybe dried and made into sugar cubes. It kind of seems natural, right? It grows in the water. It grows in the soil. We get water, get sunlight, all of that. But in reality, it's not so simple or so natural, right? These processes in the plant making the foods that are on the grocery store shelves are highly complex and full of chemicals and processes that turn what could have been a plant into something completely different our body doesn't recognize. But all of that processing, what it does is concentrate the flavor molecules. And why does that matter? It concentrates the flavor molecules and it makes them more available to hit the taste receptors. So we have taste receptors on our tongue, right? These tiny little receptors that receive the signal from the taste of the food. And then it sends us that signal up to the brain and we have a response. You're probably familiar with this. generally food creates a sense of dopamine, or gives us the neurotransmitter dopamine, gives us happy chemicals in the brain that draws us back to it. We've evolved this way, right? We've evolved to sense out sweetness, salty, sour, bitter, and the most recent flavor, umami, which was just discovered in the 1906. So it's not as well known, and we didn't really accept it here in America until the 21st century because of the name being more foreign, and it also wasn't identified as a taste receptor because they didn't find the actual receptors for it until this 21st century. And so if that's new to you, that's why, but umami just means savoriness. It's important though. So I point that out because it's it's the main taste of protein actually. So that's why we've evolved to seek out the umami, because it tells us that there's protein in food. But the difference is there's protein when it's in its whole form, and then there's amino acids when they're split up. And they're very different inside the body, mainly when they come into the digestive system via your mouth. When you start to eat that food, if it's a whole protein, whether it's meat or mushrooms, right? Whether it's lentils or fish, that whole protein is being digested as you chew it. And so as you chew it, you start to break apart the amino acids, and they hit your taste buds. And then they're also basically getting to your nervous system through those taste buds. But when you take in processed protein, or you take in foods that have been highly processed, then you have free amino acids, and those amino acids don't need to be chewed in order to hit your nervous system. They're just automatically stimulating, triggering the nervous system to have a response. You see the difference? This doesn't just happen with protein. This is the same with complex carbohydrates versus simple sugar. It's the same with the whole food, healthy fat versus oil, right? Versus the processed fat. Very different effect on the body. And so what I was realizing as I was thinking about all this, right? I'm deep in my studies with flavor and nutrition as I'm really trying to optimize and maximize the flavor in my food. At this point in my journey, I was just trying to get more flavor for everyone, for myself and for you. And so I was creating some of this problem in my body because the more flavor I was getting, the more I was stimulating the nervous system, because everything you taste speaks directly to your nervous system. At the time, this was so powerful to me because of that protein and that umami. We're going to talk about that. But this made my jaw drop. I mean, it made me cry, like real tears of the sadness and the pain around it, but also that this was my calling, that I had to share it with you, because the way that I discovered it, the other information that I had already known, right? The experiences and the knowledge that I had allowed me to see it in a different light, that recognized it's meaningful and it's game changing. So we don't just have taste receptors in our tongue. We actually have them all throughout our digestive system, right? Because as you digest food, you need to be signaling to the body to create things like enzymes and different things for that digestion. So through the esophagus lining, the stomach, and through the gut, you have receptors for the taste, just like you do on your tongue, except we don't think of it as taste, but it's still the same molecules that is signaling those receptors. So they're actually taste receptors. And it doesn't stop there with the digestive system. You have taste receptors in your lungs, in your heart, in your brain, in your bones even. Not just that, you have taste receptors on your skin. It's not shown here, but all over your skin, there are receptors to these tastes. What does that mean? That's crazy. Isn't that crazy? So say crazy in the comments if you can relate to that. Like, why would we have taste receptors in our skin? It's because we're designed for taste, right? Yes, it is. So back to the umami that I mentioned that tells us that there's protein in the food. What it is an amino acid. It comes from an amino acid that is abundant in our food and in our brains and bodies. In fact, this amino acid is not just any amino acid, right? Because we have many, 20 different amino acids, 22. This amino acid is a neurotransmitter that excites one neuron to the next neuron. It's sending a signal to the neuron. So when you consume it, you're stimulating. That's what excitatory neurotransmitters do. They stimulate the nervous system. And it also, what makes it unique is that it is the most abundant amino acid in our brain. We need it for that stimulation, because who's got thoughts running through their head right now? We all do, right? You can't turn off those thoughts. That's because of the glutamate. That allows us to have those thoughts. We need it. It also, allows for learning and growth, connection. Well, it's not only the most abundant in the brain, but it's second most abundant in the body, only second to glutamine. It's also the most abundant in our food supply, in real whole foods, even plant foods. Glutamic acid, which just means that it's in its whole form, right? Here on the left, this whole protein, any glutamate in this whole protein is going to be called glutamic acid. When it's a free amino acid, it's called glutamate. So there's just a little difference there. But that glutamate is like stepping on the gas for our brain. It drives the activity. In order to balance that activity, that stimulation, we need GABA. GABA is another neurotransmitter, but it has the opposite effect. It's calming, like stepping on the brake. We need a balance. If you get too much glutamate, you start to feel tense, stress, anxiety. And if it builds, if you don't learn how to de-stress and take care of that anxiety, it can become more serious symptoms like rashes, headaches. And if you don't take care of those symptoms, if you don't address it and figure out how to calm things down, it can become chronic disease. That's what happens. Too much glutamate becomes chronic disease. So we need to find a balance of that glutamate and GABA. Wait, whoa, this is a little technical. Like, did I just land in a neuroscience class, right? You might be thinking, what about the flavor? Well, it's directly connected. Remember, I was saying the glutamate is that savoriness. So when you have a savory meal like the lasagna here, even if it's a vegan lasagna, plant-based lasagna, you have vegetables and a vegan cheese or nut cheeses, you have the tomato sauce, all of that is still savory, the pasta, the savory. So it's stimulating to the body. How many people like lasagna or pasta? Anyone in the comments, let me know if you're a fan of bread, pasta, lasagna, anything like that. These are all stimulating to the body, right? So we want to recognize, how do we calm the body as well? How do we get out of that? Well, the opposite effect, like I said, with the GABA, that actually comes from more of the sweet food or more of the less savory food, right? So I started to recognize there's a spectrum here. We have savory, that if savory is really stimulating, then maybe the sweetness is calming. And I started to think about this similar to the electromagnetic light spectrum, the visible light spectrum and the larger electromagnetic spectrum. I started to wonder if our food could be put on a spectrum like this, because right now, this is kind of what comes into us as far as what we should eat. There's all these different types of like qualities that we want to pay attention to, right? We want to make sure that it's high fiber, anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic, get the phytonutrients, get that color, make sure you're getting enough fat, a healthy fat though, not too much fat. You want to have a low fat diet. You want to have complex carbs, but you also want a lot of protein. You want to do raw foods and unprocessed foods, living foods. Make sure there's a high life force, right? They've got that high energy. So many things. And I just told you about glutamate and GABA. So make sure you do low glutamate. What do we do with all of this information? It's too much. Like, how are you going to navigate this in your world when we're already looking for convenience, right? You can't just say, okay, I'm going to eat the healthy food. There's just more and more thrown at us. How do we simplify it? That's what I got to thinking. How can I simplify this? If I could put it on a spectrum, maybe something like this, where we have the more stimulating foods and the less stimulating foods. The more stimulating is actually more on the left-hand side. If you can see, these are the processed foods, and then the animal products, and then the fresh whole foods on the right. Now, this isn't, I'm going to make a more accurate representation of what I'm talking about here, because this top part of the image here where it's all the food, this actually comes from a scale of alkalinity, which is the measure of pH in the food. So you have water at the center where it's neutral, it's the 7 pH. And then to the left is more acidic and to the right is more alkaline. You don't need to know those terms specifically, because what I'm going to show you is how we can make this simple. But I do point that out because it is the more water in something, right? To the foods to the right actually have living water within them. Living water means it's structured. It's like this high elevated version of water. It's not the same as tap water. So those fresh whole plant foods, those have more of the living water. And so I started thinking, if those are the healthier foods, what is like these basic principles? Because that's what I want to teach people, principles, rather than a diet or dogma based on other people's understanding. I want you to have the principles, the underlying truth of the universe, basically, applied to your food so you can make the best choices for yourself, depending on your needs, your desires, where you are on your journey. So I started thinking that water seems significant. What is the frequency? What's the energy of hydrogen and oxygen? Which, you know, the molecules making up water, of course. So I found it. And by the way, this is not an easy thing to find. I dug deep for it. But I found that, and this was a couple of years back, I found that hydrogen and oxygen actually are at the center of this electromagnetic spectrum, right where light is. So they have a higher vibration than humans. Humans are to the left, right? We're very dense, although only 1% of us is actually solid matter. Unlike buildings, right? We have life within us. That life is light. That light I was talking about. So that's what I'm saying. How do we increase our light? Well, it seems likely if we want to increase our light, maybe we want to move up this spectrum. We want to bring in more higher vibration, higher frequencies. So if we choose the food with more of the water, we choose the foods that have higher frequencies, that means we're going to have higher frequency within us, right? Like you've heard people talk about when you just have dead decaying flesh, which is, you know, what Dr. Clapper likes to call animal protein, animal products, dead decaying flesh, that actually lowers our vibration. And we can differentiate those terms that are used to signal something good that we want to be consuming, right? Those words we can line up and put on the right side here and recognize that if something is high in phytonutrients, then that means it's also going to have a high life force. It's going to mean that it has more fiber, a higher voltage. It's going to be hydrating, anti-inflammatory, soothing, stress relieving, weight optimizing, life promoting, right? All of those terms that you get confused about because they're just thrown at you. And some of them are technical, right? Like voltage or alkaline. Some words you might actually be familiar with. Or like I said earlier, high allostatic load, low allostatic load. These can be technical things and it can get confusing, right? I want to be eating anti-inflammatory, but I also want anti-carcinogenic, which just means, right, anti-cancer. Are those the same? Can I make those the same? Yes, we can make it that simple. Same with the opposite of that. You don't want to have the dehydrating foods. You don't want to have the inflammatory foods. We can simplify. And we can make a term that applies to all of this. To simplify it, I say flavor that heals. That implies it's all of those foods that are, it's all of those characteristics. Those are the characteristics of the healing food. And in the same on the opposite side, flavor that harms us. You could use the term food instead of flavor, but I'm going to tell you why that I recommend paying attention to flavor rather than just food or nutrients even. Flavor on this right side, when we choose the flavor that heals, we can actually feel more alive in our bodies rather than the flavor that harms us, that just keeps us sick, tired, fat, sad, and really dull in the body. Literally, you feel dull. It's like kind of like eating bland food, but it's from within you. You feel that way. Can anyone relate to this? To sense the difference between feeling that low vibration, that low energy, that sadness and dullness within themselves versus choosing those high energy foods. And then you feel it within yourself. You feel happy and bright, right? So that's the secret, the first secret. I know with the first one is the longest to explain and walk you through, but flavor that heals, improves my life, my energy on every level. And I mean this, every level. I'm going to show you throughout the presentation as we go. So you might be thinking now, this makes sense, but it still won't work for me. It's too complex. That's not the way my brain thinks. Plus, I've got all these symptoms I'm trying to figure out. I've got to do things to make sure that I'm healing my body, right? I want to feel that vibrancy. I want to feel the joy and happiness, that love, but I've got a unique situation and I'm still craving flavor that harms me. I'm still craving those things that I know I shouldn't be having. I don't have enough willpower or discipline. My needs are too specific and I need to get enough of, this nutrient, that nutrient. So my supplements are really important and I've got to buy them and I've got to measure my nutrients, my blood, to make sure that I'm getting enough of these things, right? All of this is stressful. Your mind is your only limitation. That mind is super, super controlling and it can keep you from what's healthiest for you. Because let me tell you something, another epiphany here, we're all different and not all plants and plant-based foods are healthy for all people at all times. Sometimes pasta is actually healthy for us, but it depends on where you are in your journey. This is a deep thing I don't have time to get into in this presentation, but it really matters. It really matters. That's why I'm here sharing so much of myself and all of this. Are you guys enjoying this? You guys, we've got another half of this to go. But I'm telling you, it just gets more beautiful. I've got some really big insights for you. So let me know in the comments, are you with me? Is your energy still high? Hopefully we're just raising it because it gets more and more exciting. Awesome, Sherry. Thank you. So as we go, if you were to think about, these things and trying to pay attention to the nutrients, you've got a little bit of a problem because although most of the nutrients that you're familiar with, like calcium, magnesium, what are you trying to get? Potassium, all the electrolytes, also iron and zinc. You're trying to get all these nutrients. Most of them were discovered between the 20th and the 40th century. Sorry, between 1920 and 1940. It actually happens to be when the Rockefeller Institute was creating the medical curriculum for the schools, and it wiped out all of the nonsense alternative medicine like chiropractic and homeopathy because that stuff didn't work, right? It also eliminated spirituality from the medical curriculum because that was nonsense. And then they brought in these nutrients that it had just discovered. And although doctors don't study nutrition in the way that they should, they were learning about the nutrients and using IV to give people nutrients and creating disease states, medical conditions based on nutrients. So they were using it to the benefit of the medical industry. But why I'm telling you all this is the nutrients discovered, it just happens that it increased with each passing decade. Every decade since those early nutrients that we learned about in school, we've only discovered more and more, including in the 2020s. Look at all of these nutrients. Omega-7. Have you heard of omega-7? You've got omega-3 and omega-6. Well, guess what? Most of these nutrients are not essential, but it's predicted that all of them will become essential. They're going to identify that we need these nutrients in the body. And it's probably true. But the thing is, if you're thinking about a nutrient dense diet and that's where your focus is, and you're going to make sure that you get all of the nutrients you can, it's just going to get more and more problematic, right? Yeah, crazy. So we can't really do that logically, or logically. We can't do that with any sanity. It's just going to drive us more insane the more we get in our head. We need to get back in the body, because chronic disease is fueled by an excess of processed hyper-concentrated flavor, not nutrient deficiencies, right? There are some nutrient deficiencies, but by and large, not in our world. We've got a hyper concentration of flavor. Even people that have not enough, say, iron or something that they're measuring and it's an issue, I would just kind of predict, kind of theorize that most of that could be addressed by balancing the flavor and getting the flavor right. Those nutrient deficiencies would go away. So this beautiful piece here, this was another ground shaking epiphany for me, like literally turned my world upside down, is that we're not designed to choose food based on nutrients, but we're designed to base it on flavor, right? Think about that. We are not designed to choose healthy foods. When I say design, I mean our actual human design, the way that we were created, our creator, whoever that is for you, did not design the human body with sensors for nutrients. You can't tell me whether your food is nutrient dense or not, other than you going to your mind and thinking about what you've learned based on technical measurements of the food. It's not that you intuitively know that the food is nutrient dense, right? What you're able to make choices on is flavor, or what you're able to like instinctually, innately base your choices on is the things that you can sense. And what you can sense is flavor. So let me read a couple of comments here. Awesome, Sherry. I'm glad I'm breaking it down enough. If you guys have questions throughout, even though I am breaking it down, if you have questions throughout, let me know, because sometimes it could be helpful to rearrange things or add in a piece here and there. And I would love to know that. Angela says, it's using when combating discouragers, the people that don't give your journey real support. Yes, all of this is significant in helping to wake us up and then to be able to share that with others. But what do we do if we can't use the nutrition as our guide? Like, what are we supposed to do? Well, it's just like I said, we use flavor. It's vitality via sensuality. And that's the second key, because sensuality is vitality. The more you connect to your senses, the more you strengthen your senses, the better you can care for yourself, the more you can experience this life. Does that make sense? Because the more we are able to sense our surroundings and internally, then the more awareness we have to make better choices, right? If you touch something, you sense it's hot, you know not to touch it again, right? It's burnt your hand, you're not going to touch it. The better your senses are, the better you can care for yourself. That includes your taste buds, because the better you're sensing the food, the more you're going to choose foods that are wholesome rather than chemicals. The thing is, we are sensually challenged. Our vitality depends on our ability to sense the world around us and within us, but our capabilities are lacking because our sensuality is dull and weak, partly because of this hyper-stimulating society we live in, and partly because they've kind of strayed us away from even talking about sensuality. Right? Sensuality is connected with sexuality, and that is kind of a private or taboo conversation. You don't talk about that with your girlfriend. Maybe you do, but certainly not at the dinner table. And it's kind of those rare girlfriends that you actually get to talk about it in a meaningful way. So we need to strengthen our sensuality to improve our vitality. Well, how do we do that? Is by using the senses, just like any other muscle. It's when we don't use it that it weakens. So we have 5 points to sensing what's right for us. It starts with your heart, actually, your intuition and your gut. The senses that are those internal things that you cannot see. but those are what guide you. Just they guide you in life in general. And so paying attention to those are going to help first and foremost. Then you have your external senses, the basic 5 you could include here, although I separate taste and touch. But the things like external senses, what you're not, or what you're perceiving before you even get engaged with the item. Then you have the taste and mouthfeel. That's when you're actually putting it to your lips and starting to taste it. Then the immediate internal sensing, it's in your belly and you're feeling it, or in your gut, and maybe you can feel that it's indigestion. Then you know I probably shouldn't have that food again. And then you have ongoing internal sensing. This is things like you can feel if you've got itchiness, or you can see a rash on your body. You can see weight gain, right? You have this ongoing internal sensing. All of that is designed to help guide you to make better choices. That's why symptoms are so beautiful. Symptoms are healing. Symptoms are benefits. They're gifts to us because they can help us identify what's happening. We got to pay attention to those symptoms. And the more you strengthen your intuition, the more you understand your body, then the better you can perceive the symptoms, the better you can understand those symptoms. Okay. So this second secret, you are designed to use your senses as a guide to nourish and thrive. It's beautiful because who wants sensuality? Like, although we don't talk about it, we all enjoy sensuality, right? Whether it's getting cozy in a nice blanket or it's going to listen to your favorite band, that sensuality is what makes life so beautiful. That's why, it works so like just brilliantly. We are designed to sense life, to enjoy life. And that is what promotes our vitality. Okay, I get it. But maybe there's this limiting belief still there. It just doesn't work in this world, though. It's unsustainable. There's too much stress happening. There's too many things stimulating us. I don't have a chance to connect to that piece. I'm trying too hard to do the food right. I don't have time to stop and enjoy the flowers, to smell the roses. By the way, I just saw science that says when you smell the roses, they enjoy it too. They actually get stimulated and excited in a beautiful way when you stop to smell the roses. That's measurable. That's pretty remarkable. So I can feel you on that challenge too, because I was there. I was dealing with an underactive thyroid, low energy. I had breast implant illness that had crazy amount of symptoms I didn't even realize until a decade into it. But I was also lost in that food perfection, thinking I had to get the food better. I had to do it all better. And I was disconnected from my body, too much in my head, disconnected from the body. And I was not really speaking my truth either, because I was listening to all of the doctors, what they were saying, even though it wasn't the medical doctors, in the Western system, it was these really cool plant-based doctors that were healing people left and right. And I did what they said, and I recognized and resonated with the truth of what they said. But because I was listening to their truth and so focused mentally on what they said was right, and I was experiencing the benefits, I had some connection to my body, but I was still overly focused on the information rather than listening to me, listening to the body and the signaling within me, right? So I was screaming for peace and yearning for joy, but my mind, on top of trying to get it perfect, was still chasing the deliciousness, because that's where I thought the joy was, right? Or like on a just kind of mental level, I was getting pleasure from the food. So I love this quote. I deeply resonate with this quote from Dr. Stephen Esther, who says, "We want to love the food we eat, but the food must also love us back. Otherwise, it's like an abusive relationship with someone who beats you when you hug them." That's how it was for me, chasing this deliciousness. It's like I wanted more and more, but it was not serving my health and my peace. So after all that conversation, I'm going to tell you what keeps us coming back to the food, even the food that harms us, is not flavor. What? That's right. Although chronic disease is powered by the flavor that harms us, right? All of those harmful, whether it's chemicals or just an excess of those flavor molecules, that's what's creating the chronic disease in the body. It's like literally fueling it, creating that excess. It's not initiated by that. It's actually initiated by the thoughts and feelings we have. You could say specifically the thoughts and feelings about the food, about the deliciousness that we're perceiving within the food. That's why we eat abusive food. It's because of our perception of deliciousness. We think it's going to be yummy, tasty, amazing. And that's why we pick it up again, even after it hurt us before. You think about it. When you hear the word delicious, what comes to mind? Now, if you're eating any sort of healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, I know this has changed for you. It's not the same as when you started out, because you had to recognize the deliciousness in these whole foods to make that change, right? Or to even start the path to consider it. However, there's still probably some things that show up when you think about the word delicious that are either not on your plan, but they're in your subconscious as being more delicious and you just can't have them, or they're still in your diet because they're so delicious to your, your mind. So you think about it so much in that way that it still draws you in. Does anyone, can you relate? You say pleasure trap, say trap in the comments, just write trap if you can relate. Because our mind is what takes us into that pleasure trap. And so that was another epiphany. We need to rewire our subconscious perception on a deep, deep level of what deliciousness means so that it cuts through the harmful flavor and guides us to flavor that heals. No one's feeling the trap. No one feels deliciousness guiding you to things that you shouldn't serve, that don't serve you, that are abusive, right? Yeah. Sherry says, I'm blown away as I'm adopting whole food. The tricky part is how to flavor the food. Yes. Well, and that requires the flavor success formula I want to tell you about. Well, we're not going to dive deep into it, but there's a flavor success formula that it's not just about how to flavor the food in the kitchen. There's multiple pieces to it. So I want to share that with you, but imagine what would happen if you upgrade your perception of deliciousness. Do you think the flavor that you choose would upgrade, right? And we're on a spectrum here. It's not black or white. What if the thought of deliciousness could support your health and vitality? Just the thought of what delicious could support your health and vitality. Is that possible? The thing is, you got to recognize what are you seeking with your health and vitality? Because health, the way you thought of it, or most of us have been thinking about it, it comes from healthful living, right? You eat the right foods, you get enough sleep, you move your body, right? Exercise, sleep, diet. But I'm telling you, the most vibrant you comes from nourishing all of you. And before, when I started, I would have told you that holistic approach, nourishing all of you, meant exercise, diet, and sleep. But I'm telling you now, that is not enough. Not in any way, shape, or form is that enough. You've got to nourish your whole self, body, mind, spirit, and soul. That's what I decided after my fast at True North. I recognized I needed to start doing that. So this was a trip to Yosemite shortly after that fast. I started realizing I needed to make time to play, to really enjoy life. So I often took the work on the road with me. I didn't really stop the working. I just did it from new places where I got to take breaks in nature like this. So that's the key to the final key, the whole self deliciousness. what's our new definition of deliciousness going to be? Well, I've got a vision, and I want to tell you it. It's a little bit complicated, but I know you're here, smart people. You can follow along and recognize each part is meaningful here. That's why I included every piece. This whole self-deliciousness is a balanced, non-attached, right? Not addicted enjoyment of life's flavors, both sensory and spiritual. Spiritual meaning that the inner flavors, the intuition, the love in your heart, where true freedom and contentment are found in appreciating each and every moment without overindulgence or dependence on the fleeting pleasures. Right? So we've got to take care of the whole self, and the whole self is body, mind, spirit, soul. For those wondering, I think of the spirit as like that energy that's within us, the prana, the life force. You could say even the Holy Spirit. It's what connects all of us. It's kind of, that quantum field and tapping in, that's kind of overlapping with the consciousness. But that's basically the truth of it, is all of these are overlapping. There's no disconnection. They're all integrated. But the soul is the more unique aspect of us. That's the exquisite blueprint within you that makes you you. That is who you are, that beautiful divine soul. And so the secret is to shine your brightest, craft a life full of whole self deliciousness. Because the most vibrant you comes from nurturing and loving all of you. You've got to renew the body, rewire the mind, rewild your spirit, and revive your soul. This means we need challenge. We need to challenge the body, mind, and spirit. You got to do the hard thing. Just like with our food, you can't choose only sweet and only savory. Those are the things we're most drawn to. Also salty. You've got to include the bitter, the sour, because that's what makes it the most balanced. The most delicious is when you add in all of it. So same in life. You need the challenge. You need the stress. It's difficult. It's good to do a work. It's like uncomfortable to do a workout. It's uncomfortable to have a cold shower. But how healing are those things, right? You feel better right afterwards. You feel better. That's true with all of the difficult things in our life. Honestly, it is true with all of the difficult things in our life, even the ones that are the most painful, the grief, the sadness. It makes you stronger, but it's your perception of it that is going to be the most significant in how you see it. Kathy says, whole food since 2018, awesome. Yes, fresh herb and flavor is amazing. Yeah, I experienced some of the things Katie didn't completely understand the spiritual importance. Yes. Amazing. That's beautiful, Kathy. Because it makes a difference. To shine and fully enjoy life, you've got to craft a lifestyle that nurtures your whole self. And you've got to learn to love your whole self, right? Change is possible. You can go from feeling that pleasure trap or feeling that dull, maybe the low energy. Maybe you're not addicted to anything specifically, but it's just a sense that there's a little bit of life missing. That vitality isn't as strong as it could be. You don't actually feel radiant, vibrant. You know that's there, but you don't feel it day to day. Well, there's still the challenge, right? To summarize, we're torn between our desire for health and our desire for pleasure. I'm doing a quick summary of what we've covered so far, but I've got so much more to share. So don't leave, by the way. Just want to tell you, the best is yet to come. We can align though. Through that challenge, we can align, and we need to align our desire for health and our desire for pleasure. And that's why I love this phrase, flavor that heals, because it immediately incorporates the health that we want, but also the desire for pleasure. We can have it both. We can have the best of both worlds. So it takes these keys though, the frequency of flavor and the secret, recognizing that flavor that heals improves your energy and life on every level. We've got vitality via sensuality. remembering you are designed to use your senses as a guide to nourish and thrive. And then a whole self deliciousness. To shine your brightest, you've got to craft a lifestyle full of whole self deliciousness. And that's what I did. I used these 3 keys and I changed. I recommitted to whole foods and added more flavor that heals. I reset my taste buds and my nervous system. That was easy to do with the taste buds. The nervous system took more time, took a lot more time. And it's a journey I'm still on. But I've learned to listen to my body and my intuition. And I reduced the stress and I really learned how to play again. I let go of my addictions at any cost. Like, and there's, when you let go of one addiction, you see a new attachment. So it's an ongoing journey. But I continue to do that. And it's deepened my practice of delicious living and really enjoying life. It's been a soul rebirth for me. Truly, there's a story behind that, but it's this deep reconnection to my soul and following my heart. And it started with Flavor That Heals. Back when I was young, moving to a whole food plant-based diet. And then as I made the significant shift through my life in changing the food and how I did flavor, especially after that depression, but then also just recently here in Mexico, I've gone through some major challenges with my health and healing the breast implant illness. And it comes again back to Flavor That Heals for my healing. So I've used it all through my journey. Now I'm more vibrant than ever with fresh, wholesome flavor and delicious flavor that heals. I discovered a new way to do flavor and I want to tell you about it. I feel my absolute best when I'm present, tasting the flavors of life. I learned how to live deliciously. With Flavor That Heals, I totally transformed my life. I discovered true nourishment, deliciousness in life, and the love and light within me. So I invite you to join me on this approach, because Flavor That Heals can transform your life too, even for those that have been doing this longer. Even Kathy, you've already been on this journey, but I invite you to think about how you can deepen it even further, how you can take it to the next level. Your cravings are transformed through these keys. The first one, Flavor That Heals, elevates your craving. 2, better intuition and sensuality lessens the craving. And 3, your cravings are messages to guide and support you. And they're also going to help you feel more vibrant and alive, right? Number 1, Flavor That Heals raises your energy immediately. 2, intuition and sensuality connect you to life. 3, whole self deliciousness brings peace, love, and joy. So I want to take you on this journey from flavor to light. What we just went on was a beautiful understanding, a lot of depth, a lot of science, and there's so much growth for you there. If you want to go deeper with me, I invite you to. I'm going to tell you about something. Does anyone want to hear about the offer I have for you? If you want to go deeper, say flavor, no, say light in the comments. Say light in the comments. Because that's what we want to find within us, that light within us. You all are already vibrant. You are the most vibrant. So when you're healthiest, happiest, and most energized, and there's a way to increase that within you. More health, more happiness, more energy. That's my ultimate goal, is to inspire and guide you to reclaim your radiance. Because truly, you can feel radiant, right? You have that within you. You are 10, each and every cell within your body. This is a slide I should make, but each and every cell within your body has 10,000 times more light than the sun. That's within your body. That's the amount of light within you. So it's a just ongoing journey that doesn't end, because we can keep tapping into more and more light. It's really magical. So I invite you to join me on the journey into Magic of Umami. Before I share about the journey with you, I want to give you one more epiphany here. We've got two more big things coming later, but the extent of your healing depends on how well you reset and regulate your nervous system. Through all of those changes I made, I recognized I had to really learn to regulate that nervous system and allow myself to go back to a more balanced state, because what was normal for me was not healthy. It was normal and I was used to it. I acclimated to it, but it wasn't allowing me to heal on a deep, deep level, right? So what we want to do is learn how to optimize umami for healing. That's the first step. It's not the only step, but this is a critical piece, because so much of us, this community is really focused on using food for the healing, but most don't understand umami or glutamate. And if you think it's important to get rid of the sugar, the white sugar in your diet, then you've got to understand that the glutamate is just as powerful, if not more powerful. I argue it's more powerful than the issue of sugar. And so we've got to figure out how to heal the imbalance within us. Most of us have imbalance. I would say 99% of us have some imbalance because of the society we live in, the way our minds are captivated by all of the stimuli, and we're just disconnected from the body. Like even if you work out and you get good sleep, we're still not really in the body so much, just generally, but it's true. So I want to teach you the nourishing umami alchemy, so you can learn to create flavor that raises your peace and your vitality and that light within you. So this Magic of Umami course, I've got not all of my pieces showing up the way they should, but this training is, we're going to go into the neuroscience, and you'll learn how too much umami promotes inflammation and disease. And then we're going to get into the art of learning how to turn the fresh, wholesome foods into delicious meals that are healing and rejuvenating. And you're going to learn how to reset those taste buds to enjoy more flavor, as well as reset the nervous system to enjoy more peace. So what's included here, I want to walk you through actually these different pieces on the site, but you've got 8 video lessons, PDF slide presentations, exercises for integration, a hidden glutamate cheat sheet, right? So you can put this on your fridge, print it out, take it with you in the grocery store. Umami rich recipes, 50 or more, lifetime access to all of it, a private community, and the whole program is $12,000 in value. Plus, on top of that, I've got 5 bonuses for you, irresistible bonuses. The live Q&A session, cooking classes, frequency of flavor playbook, the nourishing umami system, and the flavor mastery workshop with the playbook. Almost $900 in value. And together, it's over $2,000 worth of value for you. But your price is just $297. So I want to show you, I'm going to show you the sales page just to show you the modules, because they're really awesome. They're just the core of the program. And then I want to show you more detail about those big bonuses, because they're brand new and they're going to be what allows you to go deeper in the integration, right? Let's pull up. So I'm not seeing what I wanted to show you. In fact, there we go. So, and then like I said, I have 2 more things, big lessons to show you at the end. So stay with me for a bit. We've got probably 15 minutes if you can stay. It's not immediate access to the bonuses, because you're going to go deep into the program, the training first. And if anyone, you can email me if you've already joined the Magic of Umami in the past, email me for a special discount, because you don't have to pay the full price if you've joined in the past. And that's true if you join now and you want to do it in the future again. Sorry, I'm looking in the wrong place. Okay, here we go. So this is the website. It's called, let me put the, in the chat, I'm going to put the link so you can follow along if you want to, but definitely that's the link for registration if you want to join us. We start on Monday, April 7th. There's going to be a big welcome call in the evening, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then the quiz is on Sunday. So now's the time to join. Welcome to the Magic of Umami. We've talked a lot about umami already, so I'm not going to get into those details. You can read the story of how I discovered it. You know, I go through my, well, it's not deep into the story, that really comes in the program, but the umami origins, talking about where this came from, the umami, and how it's been used against us actually in our food supply in much, much larger quantities than you can even imagine. It's not just MSG. And then we talk about the savory science of it. We break down that protein even further so you can really understand the glutamate versus the glutamic acid and how it's supporting your body for health and vitality and your brain, you know, cognitive function. Then we talk about the secret sources. So the most abundant amino acid, the most abundant sources are not known. You can look online and you'll find tomatoes and mushrooms, seaweed. They don't want you to know the most abundant sources of glutamate, because if you did, you'd be changing your diet and healing your body. But that's what we're going to get into. And then in module 4, we learn about how to craft that umami from the whole plant food, right? How to make that savoriness in a healthy way. We'll go deeper into the toxicity and the risks of getting that processed glutamate, really how it impacts the body and creates that inflammation. And then how to heal and find the balance, how to optimize your levels of glutamate and GABA so that you can enjoy more of that peace. We dive deep into the specific diseases, obesity, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune conditions, the list goes on. And so it helps to know the specifics of your disease that you might be dealing with or symptoms, so you can understand why and how to make the choices that are best for you. And then neuroplasticity is my favorite topic. Well, almost my favorite topic, where we talk about the lasting change. If we want that lasting change, we really have to rewire the system, but that allows us to overcome addiction and create our reality, go deeper into manifestation, actually. So it's beautiful how the glutamate is involved in every aspect of our health. And I'm going to show you later in this presentation, the last couple pieces, how there's a perfect opportunity to create module 9. That's going to come later, but I want to just tell you that when you join today, you're going to get the module 9 when I create it, which is more even deeper levels of consciousness and spirituality. So again, the offer is here, just $297 today, or you could even start with $199. But the bonus is 2 live Q&A sessions, so you can get your questions answered. We can get into the specifics of your needs. And then 3 cooking classes. These are pre-recorded. I don't have a kitchen at the moment, a full kitchen that I can prepare cooking classes for you. But they're fantastic classes, brand new, exclusive. You won't get them anywhere else. And they're all 3 different levels of savoriness. So depending on what's right for you, you'll learn, or, you know, that changes too day to day in your journey. But then the frequency of flavor guide. You saw the frequency of flavor earlier. Well, there's going to be a guide to walk you through that and help you to really apply it in your life. So that's an exciting piece. But even better, the nourishing umami system. There's a meal formula, umami meal formula, that will guide you in making these savory meals that are also nourishing to you. And you can make it more personal to you based on the glutamate and GABA balance guide. So that if you need more peace, if your nervous system is overstimulated, or you've got chronic disease, you can make the choices and optimize this to fit your needs. So you'll have done for you meals, 7 to 14, I'm not sure. Sorry about that. And then a shopping list to go with those meals. So it's really easy for you to prepare these meals. But then you can also mix and match with a meal planner. You can customize meals for you based on what you want. Another GABA boosting guide where it's more about the teas and herbal infusions, things that you can do outside of your meals or outside of the food to boost the GABA even more. And a quick start guide to get you started with how to use that book. Then we have the Flavor Mastery Workshop, which is going to be a full 3-hour interactive workshop. This is after the Magic of Umami ends. We're going to have this workshop and you get to go deeper into the flavor creation, like way deeper, because flavor isn't just umami, right? So we're going to learn how you can personalize that flavor success formula and how you use the building blocks. Those are the actual umami, sweetness, sour, salty, bitter. How do you layer those and combine those to make the best flavor for you? Plus the magic of herbs and spices, and then amplifying flavor with heat, aroma, and texture. We'll get into the skills and techniques. And then we're going to take it from theory to taste, where you're in the kitchen and applying this. And all throughout, you're going to be using the playbook to really be integrating this into your consciousness, your deep into the subconscious, so that you can be applying these easily in the kitchen. We'll go back to our presentation here, because like I said, there's a few more big pieces to share with you. All right, who wants to know more about the, let's see if this is the one. Who wants to know more about the self-actualization, right? How do we really elevate ourselves higher to higher levels? And that might, you might have different reasons for that. You just want to grow. You love learning. You want to be your most vibrant self. You want to reach enlightenment, whatever it is, right? And it's always a journey. So there's always more. We're never there. It's not a destination. How to enjoy the journey. But I'm telling you, it's your time to shine. If you're here, there's a reason. You were drawn to this for a reason. Your light within you is asking, it's like that yearning sensation to let it let it out, to let it shine. Literally, just stop asking for permission. Stop fighting with yourself in the mind. You think about what it is costing you to not know the magic of umami and flavor that heals. Because your health depends on flavor that you consume. Your energy depends on the flavor you consume. And your evolution depends on the flavor you consume. Here's a diagram of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You probably learned this in high school, if not before, but you have those lower needs of the physiological needs, getting enough food, shelter, making sure your safety needs are met, you're secure, you've got enough finances, right? You've got to have those lower needs met before you can go to the higher needs. Well, I know that if you're here, you've already done enough with the lower needs, that you've been on this path of growth and self-actualization. That's how you change your diet, is recognizing, oh, I can do this better. That's how you decided, I'm going to learn. I want to go through programs like this to develop myself to the next level. So I know you've already reached the top, but again, it's a journey. So the more energy we still have in those lower levels here, the more you're preventing the energy from going higher. So if you've got any pleasure trap, any vice that you're hanging on to, that is keeping you with more energy in the lower level of physiological needs, and it's preventing you from growing. If you've got too much struggle around the food in the kitchen, that's keeping you from growing. If you've got, worry about getting enough nutrients, that's keeping you from the self-actualization. You could call it self-realization. You could say just growth, right? But the desire to be more of you, to tap into your potential. So that flavor that harms you, AKA the processed food, and it might be highly processed food, or it might be just processed plant-based food. It might be just cooked food. depending where you are in your journey and what your needs are. We're all individual. We're all different. It's why some people feel good on paleo and some people feel good on raw vegan, right? You could ask a lot of raw vegans and they don't ever want to add in cooked food again. There's a reason for it. It's not, none of it is bad or good. It's just what is and what's right for you at where you are in your journey. So this is my favorite piece of all of this, is that we are able to lift our consciousness and our frequency with flavor that heals. Literally, this is the David Hawkins map of consciousness from Power versus Force. Very scientifically based. You can read the book, highly recommend it. But you have all of the different emotions and there's a frequency associated with each emotion. You have the lower vibration emotions, shame and guilt being the lowest, and then fear, desire, anger, all the way up to the neutral feeling where it's just kind of like contentment, just what is, all the way to peace, love, joy, the enlightenment, the highest. So the more you choose flavor that harms you, the more you're stuck in the lower vibration. No, this isn't me just saying this because it sounds good, like it would help my cause here. It's me saying it because it's the science, it's the reality, it's the spirituality, it's what's happening. When you're stimulating the body with all of the flavor that is harmful, and that is the savoriness, but also the and it's not all harmful, all savoriness, but the more savory, the more stimulating, and the more sweet, the more soothing if it's a whole food. But if you've got sweet processed food, that is going to be harmful too. So you've got to understand this. But the flavor that harms is going to keep you in the lower state because it's keeping your body in a toxic, lower vibration, darker energy. The flavor that is healing literally lightens you up. Like when we say it lightens, it lifts you up, it's because it's raising your frequency. It's creating more light within you. It's allowing you to feel more of these vibrations, these emotions of love, joy, peace. So flavor that heals supports your growth, supports your evolution, supports your self-actualization, tapping into your potential. And I gave you those 3 keys to flavor that heals. That allows you to regenerate, or right from the start, you decide you're ready to shine brighter, and you apply the flavor that heals, and you start to regenerate the body. And you can rewire the mind, rewild your spirit, and let your soul be on fire. And then you're wanting to shine brighter because when the soul is on fire, it's excited for life. It's excited to tap into more. So you can do this on your own, or you can do it with me. You can go through the complication of trying to figure out the diet and measure the nutrients, or you can learn flavor that heals. You make it complicated, confusing, trying to juggle it all, or do it with my help and make it easy, fast, and simple. Maybe not as easy as you'd like it to be, right? We're not talking about a pill here that you can just take. It's a process. It's a journey, but this allows you to enjoy the journey. I have a couple testimonials I want to share with you. Diane says, I wanted to make this change, but I didn't know where to begin. By learning how to prepare savory plant-based dishes, I had no trouble transitioning because I discovered how flavorful and satisfying eating this way was. I am well on my way to reversing my diabetes and I've lost weight and I look and feel better than I have in decades. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Diane. I love the successes. So Susan says, I've been whole food plant-based for over 10 years, but I've eaten protein bars and recently added hemp protein powder. The last 6 months, my blood sugar has been creeping up. I've been mystified as to the cause. After learning about refined glutamate, I stopped the protein powder. And the next morning, I had to check my blood sugar again and again. It was 92, and it's remained in the low 90s since. Sorry, I got disconnected. Thanks for staying with me. We're just wrapping up too, so I'll let you go. I know it's been a long class, but how many people want to join me for the Magic of Umami? Let me know in the comments, say umami, UMAMI, you want to join us. So I'm going to mute everyone, but feel free to ask questions, raise your hand. If you have any questions about the program, about the umami, the glutamate, any of it. What would you do with extraordinary vitality, right? If you had more energy, more life force, more of that light within you. Not to, I keep saying light, but the equivalent is actually love as well. As your light rises, your love rises. As you are able to feel more light, you're creating more love. We're going to talk about all of that, not in, you know, it's an ongoing journey with me, but Flavor That Heals as a program, as a brand, as a business is going to take you on this journey. But the Magic of Umami is the beginning. So how would you feel if you were shining brighter? When you're living deliciously, when we're living deliciously with Flavor That Heals, the best choices become easy. This image, the sweet potato tacos, these are one of my favorite meals ever. I started making them when I was at True North Health Center and adding, instead of rice to my tacos, I wanted something a little bit different. So I started using potatoes and sweet potatoes, and I loved it. The sweet potatoes with the spicy salsa, amazing. And initially I was using the tortillas. I think I just said that, but I eventually added in the red cabbage sometimes because I wanted more of that raw life force. But either way, I saw I would have this meal 5 times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. And I just recognized early on in my journey that it was so good. I was never going to go back to the animal product. The flavor was so delicious. I was head over heels for the plant-based lifestyle because of this dish. And then years later, I was in my kitchen at the Plant Street Culinary Gym, where my physical studio. I made this dish with potato with carrot lox on top instead of bread as the base. I used the potatoes, and it's got avocado and onion and tomato. Well, this picture I took right before I took a bite. This is the very first time I made it. And I took the picture, and then I picked it up and took a bite. And in that first moment, I thought orgasmic. I literally said to myself, I don't want this to end before I even finish the bite of that very first bite. So this type of food is amazing. And as we become more and more vibrant, as you heal, the food becomes more and more delicious. It's amazing. So I really urge you to join us for the Magic of Umami. Lori says, I want the $199 course. I'm not sure which course you're saying, the flavor workshop, maybe. Which the flavor workshop, I'm not sure what the pricing is, but right now I don't have any available aside from in the bonuses with the Magic of Umami. You can email me about that, but this is the way it's all designed. So if you want to join, I don't recommend doing the flavor, any of the flavor work without learning glutamate. And that's why I have it priced so low so that you can do it all. Susan says, they've already said, once you are signed up, will you send us an email with all for the call details? Yes. The program is, the first module is going to be sent out Monday morning. So you can get started Monday before our call. And then Monday evening, we're going to have our welcome call. And then the first four modules, well, then the first, then the second, third, and fourth modules come that week, which is next week. And then the next four come the following week. And then we get into the big bonus. And over the weekend, over the first weekend, you'll get a Q&A, you'll have a Q&A session and the cooking classes. So I'm going to give you all of the details you'll get on Monday, all of the details of how to go through it and everything. Right now, like today, you sign up right now, you're going to get a confirmation email. And then on Monday, we're going to get started. And I'm going to send you out a link to join us. Later today, you'll get a link to join us for Monday. And then, yeah, Monday morning, you'll get it, the actual module 1 sent to you. So, Sherry says she took the Magic of Umami. Oh, yes, Sherry, if you want to join this, I do encourage you to join us again because we're going deeper with all of these bonuses. And in the Q&A sessions, it's going to be really impactful. There's a discount for you. So you can email me and I'll send you that discount link. This is my email. And yeah, because I want to be able to support you through the program with questions and everything and all of the workshops, but I need to be able to, just run the business. So we've got to have a smaller fee for the people who want to join again, which I recommend. All of the modules are, you get you get 4 the first week, 4 the second week. So they're an hour long each, and they're very deep science. So I want to go through it with you. They're pre-recorded. You get to do them in your own time, but with the questions and answers, the first Q&A is going to be about the first 4 modules because there's so much science. I want to make sure you understand the first kind of foundational understanding before we go deeper, right? And that kind of keeps us in line and together. So again, I'm going to share, I think here's the link if anyone wants to join us again. Let me take off my screen or stop the share. Susan says, am I correct in understanding that we have lifetime? Yes. You have lifetime access. So anyone that has already purchased the Magic of Umami in the past, you have lifetime access as well. The only thing is during these 2 weeks, it's going to be dripped again. So there's a short period of time where you don't have access, but you have lifetime access overall. Yeah, it's really, really like amazing how this savoriness has changed my world. Like ongoingly changed my world from the first moment I recognized that the flavor had to be the most delicious in order for people to sustain it. That's when I was at True North and I was just trying to add in that flavor. I didn't even know what umami was at that time, but I was just doing the things to increase the savoriness, to increase the flavor in the dishes. That's what made it not rabbit food. That's what allowed people to really enjoy my meals. And I became known for the flavor. Like literally people would say, your dishes are the most flavorful. When I started off, there was only 4 chefs in the, like as far as I knew, in the world teaching sos-free. Meant no sugar, no oil, no salt. And so the flavor was very difficult for people getting started. We didn't have all the resources and cool cookbooks and everything, all the experts that are doing it now. But out of those 4 chefs, mine my food was known as the most flavorful because I kind of pushed the buttons with what I was allowed to do, right? I was just layering the flavor and making it concentrated. But then I learned what umami was, and I got even more intentional because then I knew what I was doing. I knew the science behind what I was doing. And then I learned the impact of having too much. And then I had to look at, okay, we need a balance. And then I recognized, oh, it's not just about having less glutamate. We actually want to increase the flavor in other ways to really balance the whole dish. It's not just balancing sweet and savory. We also want to bring in other components, not just for the enjoyment, but also for the healing. Yes, it says, how do you purchase the previous one? Well, right now the previous one isn't available. I just, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I took it down. So actually that, I don't know how it works. Actually, if you already went through it, sorry, I think you still may have access to it if you already went through it all because it's dripped. So you'll have to tell me. You can just log in. The website to log in is theculinarygym.com, and you tell me if you have access. If you don't have access, it'll just be 2 weeks until you're all dripped again. And if you want to join us for this program and get all the bonuses and go through it again, like I said, we're going to go deeper this time, and we can get all your questions answered. You can really apply it at a deeper level. Then thanks for being here, Kathy. Then you can join again for just a portion of the price. And that link I will send out to you. You just email me, Katie May at the Culinary Gym. I'll email you the direct link to join us. Thanks again, Kathy, for being here. Thank you everyone for being here. If you have any questions, I'm going to stick around for a little bit. Sherry, I would have to check my email to see that, but I'm pretty sure I see you. I'll see it. So I also want to say, I tell my whole story, like all the symptoms I really attribute to the glutamate and the excess stimulation in my world. Yes, I see an email from Pam. Let me see. Sherry, I don't know. Unless you're under a different name here, that might be the case. So I want to say now that I recognize the disease in my family and how the glutamate is creating that disease in my family. And it's not just the food, it's also the stress. It's also the lifestyle, right? The relationships. But once you learn the glutamate, then you can change and adjust the food and start to see it in other areas of your life. And you'll start to see it in the other people, which is super helpful if you're trying to support someone, family member, friend on their journey, right? So my family, you know, I've got cancer, I've got addiction, like hardcore addiction, and the cancer and Alzheimer's and strong anxiety to the point that someone doesn't really drive in a car. All of these things are driven by the glutamate. And I try telling them, and they do believe me. But sometimes, you know, you just don't want to hear it anymore when it keeps coming back, coming up again and again, when they're not making enough changes. But most of them are making significant changes and they're noticing differences, which is really, really amazing. So if you want to heal on a deeper level, it really helps to learn the depth of umami and the GABA to balance it. Any questions? Anyone want to share? Anyone here take the Magic of Umami and wants to share a little bit about their experience? or any big insights from this class here, Flavor That Heals.
Katie?
Yes.
I took it, and that's why I'm here. Because that Magic of Umami class was, it's hard to describe. It was dense and intense, but very, very enjoyable. And I learned so much, especially about glutamate. I mean, I feel like a PhD in glutamate, and it's made such a difference. Learning how to look for it and what breaks down into it, it's really made a difference. And
thank you so much.
I can't recommend it enough. That's why I'm here now. So
yeah, amazing. Thank you, Angela. I love that. It really does make a difference. It's so technical of a term. It's not that hard to say, but it's just because we don't hear it a lot, right? It's not like calcium or magnesium. It seems a little bit more foreign, but it is so impactful, and it's really easy to understand once you do. Once you learn the science, then it's easy to apply, but there's just a lot of nuances, and there's so much depth that you can take it deeper. You can keep applying it at deeper levels. And really that piece I shared about the neuroplasticity in module 8, and then the raising of consciousness and spirituality is even more exciting. So those are like the deeper levels. Along with each individual disease state, you can really go deeper and deeper, including the basic of obesity, right? Like one of the very first issues that we face of weight gain, and one of the most prevalent, right, chronic disease that are basic epidemic worldwide, is directly related to that glutamate. They show one of the first studies of MSG shows the increase in obesity due to the glutamate in the rat. But also, once you understand the system, that's maybe one of the most important pieces here, is to understand the system of glutamate and GABA, and then you can apply it outside of the food, and that's, allows you to have that deeper healing. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for being here, everyone. I'll let you go. No more questions. Thank you so much. If you want to join us again, the link is in the chat, but I'll send it out in an email, and I'll send the replay as well. I appreciate your time and your energy and just your presence overall in this community. And I look forward to serving you as the best I can, however I can, moving forward. Hopefully that starts Monday with the Magic of Umami. Okay, everyone, have a delicious weekend. I'll be in touch. Okay, Sherry, yes, I'll be on the lookout for the email. Thank you, everyone. Bye.